Cybersecurity is crucial to many businesses because it safeguards all types of data against theft and loss. ASX-listed company WhiteHawk specialized in developing and operating an online cybersecurity exchange platform that protects businesses and organizations of all sizes. Today, we are very pleased to invite the founder and CEO of WhiteHawk Limited, Ms. Terry Roberts, to join us. Welcome, Terry.
It's great to be here with you, Hannah.
Thank you. Terry, could you please briefly introduce WhiteHawk and its main service and products to our readers?
Absolutely. So if you think about the digital age, it was so important that everyone have access to knowing their digital age risks, prioritizing them, and mitigating them. So what we have done is created an online platform that is accessible to all companies and organizations where they can come and get a risk assessment, get a sense of their maturity, if they're regulated, their compliance, and then an action plan complete with scalable, cost-effective, easy to implement solutions from our marketplace. So it truly is an end-to-end approach. We have a couple of specific product lines. One is the Cyber Risk Program, which is for one company. Another is the Cyber Risk Radar, which is across suppliers and vendors. So it can be 50, 100, 1,000 suppliers. And then foundational to everything we do are our automated cyber risk assessments, which are 20-page reports.
Thank you. Could you please tell us a bit about your experience and why did you establish WhiteHawk?
So I had been an executive director at Carnegie Mellon Software Engineering Institute after my career in naval intelligence. And I wanted to go back to cyber because I had focused on it in the late 1990s. And I knew that it was the future. And so I worked in the risk and resilience field at Carnegie Mellon, and then went on to industry. And while I was working, running a large body of cyber risk and engineering and analytics work, I saw what happened in the world in around 2013, 14, 15. When online crime and fraud started to explode. And I knew that with my background in cyber intelligence and analytics and online platforms, I knew that we could create a capability that would democratize all companies to be able to identify and prioritize and mitigate their risks.
That's wonderful. So as a cybersecurity company with technical team in USA, what is a major consideration to list in Australia rather than in America in 2018? And how does WhiteHawk differentiate itself from other ASX-listed cybersecurity companies?
Okay. So I always knew that I wanted it to be a global company. Through my Carnegie Mellon connections, I was brought to how the approach, the small cap approach of the ASX and the ability to get investment over time through the ASX small caps. So I thought it was a twofer, right? I would get that initial funding that I needed to create the platform, and at the same time, truly spread my global wings. I've lived a lot of my career in the Pacific and Indian Ocean. And so it was also like going back to my roots. And I find it very exciting that we're both US and Australia connected? How do we compare to other Australian companies? So again, it's that end-to-end automated, scalable online approach, as opposed to a more traditional cybersecurity, either consulting service, which we do work with consultants. They can use our risk assessments and product lines, or a traditional cybersecurity compliance approach, which is very heavy on-premise, technical, but not scalable. So, and then, oh, by the way, we'll partner with the majority of Australian cybersecurity companies because remember, we're a marketplace. So we want to have services and solution options that mitigate risks.
The cyber criminals behind the Medibank and Optus cyber attack put a lot of personal information in danger. Personal details of 9.7 million current and former customers of Medibank were accessed by the criminal. From your professional perspective, what's your thought about the incident, and how can companies and organizations prevent such event to happen in the first place?
Yeah, so it's that friction between a compliance approach, like a checklist approach, and a risk-based approach. And so I think by focusing only on compliance is foundational, but it's not sufficient. Using the current cutting edge cyber risk monitoring and prioritization capabilities that we integrate into our platform, we can diagnose the kinds of vulnerabilities from a hacker view. So I call it the satellite imagery of risk. It's an outside in look, vice an inside out look. And complex enterprises like Medibank and Optus need both, and they're not leveraging both today.
Once the system is hacked, is there any way to make it up?
Yeah, so if you don't lead with a risk-based approach where you've protected your crown jewels. So for Medibank, the client's data sets are their crown jewels, right? Online financial transactions are their crown jewels. So prioritizing those and then putting solutions and mitigation and encryption in place, right, would have prevented not the hack, but the impact on their crown jewels. The other thing every company should have is a response plan, so that you practice it ahead of time and you have the lead, the communication strategy, and the company that you're going to bring in, right, that you already have a relationship with to help you with the response.
Thank you. According to Australia's cybersecurity industry roadmap, the cybersecurity sector is small at present. The majority of Australian organizations currently lack the capacity to employ large internal cybersecurity teams. From your experience, what are the advantages and disadvantages of hiring an external cyber service?
So yes, I estimate that about 90% of all companies and organizations don't have the resources, right? Nor do we have the talent, enough of the talent to have in-house cyber sophisticated teams. And in that case, that's why our approach to a cyber risk assessment, which I call the cyber risk program, continuously by a third party, will help you to do that prioritization and then put in place the key solutions based on your budget, but so that you will be able to operate through any kind of event. Okay. And so it's that combination, I think, that needs to be brought to bear. I also want to highlight that in Australia, you have an amazing cyber accelerator out of Melbourne, CyRise. And you have a lot of excellent companies, startups that are coming from that cybersecurity accelerator as well.
Australia offers a significant opportunity for cybersecurity providers, with Australia donors 7 billion market size. However, most of the Australian cybersecurity companies, including ASX-listed cyber companies, are not huge in terms of the market cap and business revenue. From your point of view, what might be the reason behind this? And do you expect more mergers and acquisition might happen within the industry in the future?
So I do think that COVID, the global pandemic for the past few years, and the Russia-Ukraine crisis has sort of frozen growth in some of these exciting new technological areas. But I think we're coming out of that now. So I do see a lot of opportunity for growth for ASX listed cybersecurity companies. Also, yes, there will be mergers and acquisitions. And we're always looking to optimize partnerships because we are an online exchange. And so we're always vetting new capabilities. We want to have the next generation best of breed to partner with, but also because the larger cybersecurity companies need to stay current. And sometimes it's only by purchasing those best of breed technical solution startups that they can integrate that into their capabilities.
Thank you so much. Can you please share a case study on how products and technical solutions should be implemented by WhiteHawk?
Yes. So originally we created the platform to service small to mid-sized enterprises, right? Those that don't have CIOs or cybersecurity professionals. But what we found was that they would not find us even through search engine optimization because they weren't searching on cybersecurity. So we architected based on our approach, our cyber risk radar, which is across suppliers and vendors. So which the majority are small to mid-sized companies. So it was a way that we could help large enterprises identify and mitigate the risks across their vendors and suppliers, but also allow us to interact with large numbers of SMEs.
WhiteHawk recently completed Australia donors 3 million private placement to support business development expansion in the US and Australia. Could you please tell us more about WhiteHawk's business strategy and its expansion plan in Australia? What's the investment highlight of WhiteHawk from your perspective?
Yes, so I do feel that during the global pandemic, we lost the momentum that we had just before the pandemic. So we really needed the resources in place, both from the marketing, the PR, the thought leadership, and the sales side, right, to be able to take things to the next level. So what we have been doing initially with those resources is putting more partnerships in place with global consulting groups. And we have some exciting ones that are in fruition right now, which we should be able to talk about soon. We're also repartnered with Sontiq, which is now a TransUnion company. So we had partnered with Sontiq before the pandemic, but then they went into a merger and acquisition period of time where we couldn't work with them. And now they're out of that. And so now we're marketing together to large global companies that have portfolios of business clients and the ability to embed our software as a service approach in support of their business clients for 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 businesses all at once. So I'm very excited about those opportunities as well.
Can you tell us a bit about WhiteHawk's corporate vision? What's the board's expectation for WhiteHawk in the next 3 to 5 years?
So it is these embed services, which are subscriptions, annual subscriptions, that can be the game changer for WhiteHawk. So instead of selling cyber risk programs, which are very important capabilities, but are done one at a time, or cyber risk radars across supply chains, which are put in place one at a time, it's the subscriptions with Sontiq that would enable us to have subscriptions across thousands of companies and annually renewed. And the board wants us to have an impact across thousands of companies, not hundreds of companies.
That's wonderful. This is the end of the interview. Thank you so much for your time today, Terry. We look forward to catching up with you again in the future.
Hannah, great questions. Love talking with you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. See you next time.